And good morning, everyone, and welcome to Small Biz Matters, the half-hour program where you work on your business rather than in it. My name is Alexi Boyd from Boyd Office Management Services, proud supporters of Triple H, and I'm here with you for another week talking about all things small business. Thank you so much for joining me. Firstly, I'd just like to say a big thanks to everyone who contributed to today's show. It's based on my article, which is featured in the Monthly Chronicle. I have a regular column in our fabulous local newspaper, which is all about small business. Often reiterates what we talk about on the show, so it's a great way to catch up. But we've done the opposite way today. I've written the article first, and today I am drawing on all that expertise. And what's interesting about it is that I've actually drawn on the expertise of all of my small business colleagues. Now, as small businesses, I love that expression. I love saying small business colleagues because as a small business, as a sole trader, it can be quite lonely. And it can be only you involved in the business. And in some ways, a lot of us don't actually communicate with other people, even in our industry. We're not experienced enough, or we're not part of a professional organisation, or we don't feel confident enough talking to other people who could potentially be seen as competitors. And you're not quite at that stage yet where you're ready to ask for their help without looking like a bit of a ditz. So what I like to use, I love that expression, small business colleagues. It's people you network with. It's people that you get advice from. It's people who are not necessarily competitors, but you draw on them as your surrounding people. They're your colleagues. It's like being in a larger organisation. And let's face it, as small businesses, we do draw on each other's expertise. We refer one another into and out of business, and we enjoy each other's company immensely. You only have to take a look at some of the networking events that go on at the Upper North Shore, and they are fabulous, and there's lots of them, to realise what a community is out there. So let's all start using that expression. Let's start saying, this is so-and-so, my small business colleague, the person that I like to call my workmate, my workplace mate. Okay, I'm going on now. So today's show is all about drawing on their experiences as parents. Now, when we've talked about this a number of times on previous shows, when you are a small business, you wear many hats. We know that. You are marketing, you are IT, you are the bookkeeper, you are sometimes the plumber in your home, in your home office environment. So what I'd like to think about today is drawing on that expertise as a parent, and that is one of the hats that we do wear. Recently, when we had Sarah Collison on the show talking about rehabilitation, it often falls on us as the small business owner, because everyone perceives us to have so much time and so much flexibility, which we do have to a point, where we look after family members. And one of those groups, of course, that we look after are our kids. And let me tell you, there's a lot of expertise on how to juggle the holidays. I know the holidays have just gone, and on reflection, I probably should be doing this show at the beginning of the holidays, so we might reiterate that before the next holidays. But these guys who have been doing this for many years, whatever their profession is, also juggle and are experts in juggling work-life balance. And what more of an opportunity to juggle work-life balance than in the holidays? Now, I struggle with this. I'm going to be really blatantly honest here. I really struggle with having my kids around for such a long period of time during what my brain considers to be a working day. And I find it difficult to switch off. So I put it out there in the various Facebook groups and with my small business colleagues, asking them for some tips and tricks. And what was very interesting is that it's very varied. How people approach their kids and juggling the holidays, it differs immensely, and it doesn't necessarily differ depending on what they do. So you wouldn't say, somebody who runs a business which is, has a lot of packing elements, they use the kids for packing. That's not specific. Or somebody who is, does very intense work consulting, maybe with algorithms, just doesn't want the kids around them at all. There's no rhyme or reason, but it does come down to a lot to do with the person and how they look at their kids. So as I said at the beginning of the show, I struggle with this immensely. I find it difficult having the kids around so for such a long period of time. So I put it out there and said, look, what do you guys do to juggle this problem, to manage this time, and to find things for the kids to do? Because ultimately we can sit there for hours at a time with whatever it is at our profession, and quite happily 4 or 5 hours with our heads down, bum up, trying to get the work done. You can't do that when you've got kids around. Obviously, it varies as well depending on how old the kids are. The older they are, the more likely you are to be able to get them to help or for them to be a little bit more independent in their play. But I think regardless, it's the attitude you have towards your kids which really changes how you deal with this situation. So I was a bit foolish at the beginning of the year, beginning of the holidays, thinking that, you know what I'll do is I'll organise 2 long day play dates with each of the girls' friends. So she can have 5 people over, she can have 5 people over, well, 2 days like that. And then I'll just get a full day of work done. That is the one thing that I really made a mistake with, thinking that even though there were 5 10-year-olds in the house to entertain one another, that I could get away with doing work because they were there to occupy themselves. That's actually the opposite. I actually found it easier doing work when the kids were babies than when they're a bit older, because you want to keep an eye on what they're doing. You want to keep an eye on how they're behaving and interacting with one another. So I found myself doing a whole lot of housework. Now, that's a good thing anyway, because as small businesses, we often put the housework last, and I got lots done, so yay me. But I did actually stupidly think that I would be getting 8 hours work done. So that work that I had slotted in for that time literally didn't happen. And of course, that impacts on your business. If you plan to think that this is what's going to happen on that day and you're not flexible and you have it solid in your mind that this is what's going to go and it doesn't happen, well, you're actually going to impact on your business and impact on your clients and miss deadlines, miss deadlines that you promised. And that's exactly what happened to me. So that's why I thought I'd get a few different perspectives as to how other people deal with this issue. So here's some top tips. Now, a really great person to ask was Deborah from Person-Centered Leadership, and she works a lot with life coaching and helping parents with teenagers as well. So she was excellent, and her, of course, her advice was that flexibility is very important. You know, perhaps think about working for 2 hours in the morning, then schedule some activities, then set up a movie later during the day so you can slot in a few more contact hours with clients, for instance, while the kids are occupied with a movie, and maybe some phone sessions, and then organise play dates too. Her attitude was to slot it into different segments of the day and have that quite organised, but also be prepared to be flexible with that as well. So if you're going to book in a phone meeting, for example, with a client, then maybe understand that that's going to have to move and maybe brief your client and say, look, you know, this is the situation. It may or may not happen. And over the day, also think about using that day to do small segmented things, such as hopping into social media sites and posting at that point, and just small little tasks that you can do. But be flexible and be prepared that what you want to do in the morning might not happen in the morning, it might happen a little bit later. And then at the end of the day, when the kids are in bed, you do a little bit more. So really, I like the idea of doing 2 hours from 6 till 8. Not that I'm a morning person at all. And 2 hours at the end of the day. You've done 4 hours work if you can schedule it that way, which is awesome. Jennifer from Vividity Photography takes more of a lateral approach. She says, this might go against the grain a little bit, but I deliberately plan as little work as possible over the school holidays. One of the reasons I work for myself is so that I have this flexibility. The work I do in these periods is often not time sensitive. So things like creating a new range of client gifts, tweaking existing brochures, or changing the images on my website. Things that can happen today, tomorrow, next week, they can also happen at night when the kids are in bed. That way, if we decide to have perfect weather for a picnic, we can just pack up and go. I also use the school holidays to catch up on reading for pleasure and for work. And I take books with me when I'm out and about with the kids. It's a luxury to be able to sit out in the sunshine in the park and read while they play. Mind you, with everyone else around on the phones and devices, I sometimes feel like a bit of an art installation. So well done, Jennifer. And also she said, you know what, there's nothing wrong with all snuggling on the couch and reading individually together. And you can be reading, workbooks for that instance, or maybe be on your laptop and doing stuff. So it's about spending time together, being flexible and not over-expecting the use of your time as well. So great advice there. Thanks, Jennifer. And I think there's something to be said as well for Laurie Lim from Sacred Kinesiology says, the mind can trap us into ruminating about what we should have done better and worrying about things that are out of our control. This is great advice, by the way. This is our brain's natural defence system. It's trying to reduce the immediate threat. our caveman reptilian brain, the I'm going to get this wrong. Sorry, Laurie. The amygdala. Amygdala. Is that right? Amygdala will often keep us stressed and in a state of constant fluster or overwhelm by activating our stress hormones and sending us into flight or fight. This is actually really true. I find this happens quite a lot when I am stopped from doing what I want to do by the kids, heaven forbid, and I become very inflexible. And I do. I go into fight or flight response. The key to avoiding, and she goes on, the key to avoiding going into overwhelm is mindful action. When you find yourself constantly worrying about situations you cannot control, take 3 deep breaths, remind yourself you're not a time traveller and you cannot control the future right now. All you have is this moment. Once you find yourself regrounded, make a list of 3 actionable steps you can achieve today that will make the greatest impact on what you need to get done. So awesome advice there. Don't forget to take a step back and say, well, this is the situation that's happening. I can't change it. I just have to live in the now. I have to de-stress myself and accept that this is what's going on. And then think of 3 small things given the scenario of today. So we as parents, we know that what's happening in the day may not necessarily change. There might be a black cloud over one of the kids today, so we're just going to have to deal with that. And think of 3 small things that at least by the end of the day you can feel like you've gained some semblance of control over yourself with getting something done. So great advice from Laurie. Thanks, Laurie. Catherine Weinress says, I can be on my laptop working in the kitchen bench while supervising the kids as they develop their independence and creativity in the kitchen. And usually what they make turns out to smell and taste delicious. Everybody wins. That's great, Catherine. I do not have children that do that. They tend to make something of their own creation, which can be a little bit scary at times. I've had some very interesting biscuits where Olivia just doesn't use a recipe, she just goes for it, which is awesome. But I like the idea of being on the other side of the bench and letting the kids just go for it. Of course, being careful you don't get any flour on your laptop, but that's great advice. Still allowing them that creativity and independence, keeping half an eye on them, and again, trying to get a bit of work done. But I would say with that, don't have high expectations of yourself to really get much done. This might be an opportunity where you do some scheduled posts for your Facebook page, or like Jen said, do a couple of simple updates for your website, for example. Pia from Georgie Girl Designs recognises her own little resource. This week, my 6 will be assistant, helping me with pickups and deliveries and coming to meetings. I have in the past not just worked. As my business is growing, I'm having to. This week, little Miss 6 will be my assistant, helping with all these sort of aspects. I do try and get out the computer at night after her bedtime, but we just have a couple of days away just to make sure that there is some quality family time in that as well. So that's a really important point from Pia. Think about making sure you do slot in some quality time, because I find that I get to the end of the holidays and my 2 girls go, we haven't done anything with you. We haven't done anything. We want to spend time with you. So allocating specific time with them really makes sure that they feel wanted and loved and needed and all that guilt-ridden stuff that we're so good at pushing onto ourselves. We're going to have a look at Rachel from Welcome Basket, a great little local organisation. She says, I pay my kids to come and work for me. Now, this is great when your kids are a little bit older. They make my welcome baskets that I deliver. They earn pocket money, they do a really good job, and they learn skills. So a lot of us out there who are consultants, this might not work for, but if you've got something that's quite hands-on with your business, you might find that it's something that you can engage your kids to do, which is awesome. Plus, don't forget about filing. I mean, you'd be surprised at how good kids are at organising things. If your top drawer is a bit of a mess, just pull out the drawer and go, there, kids, can you organise that? Can you get rid of the pens that don't work? Can you put the pens in one section? Can you put the rubbers in another? Can you get it all looking pretty? And then pay them $5, because, they're probably going to take half an hour to do that, and they can earn some pocket money and they'll be thrilled. And those sort of skills, it's not necessarily the tangible skills that they're actually doing, unlike Rachel's kids who are learning really good skills. But you might not think that those are actual skills, but what they are is they're learning to earn their own money. They're valuing their time. They understand that at the time that I'm working, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm focused. And in the meantime, of course, you've gained half an hour that you can potentially do your own thing. So thanks very much from Rachel from Welcome Basket for that top tip. We're going to take a short break now with Small Biz Matters and be back after this. We'll do some traffic and weather when we get back to. And I'm going to take some more top tips, particularly with calling in the troops. You are listening to Small Biz Matters, the half-hour program where you work on your business rather than in it, on Triple H 100.1 FM. So today, just before the break, we were talking about the expertise that our small business colleagues have when it comes to work-life balance. And what better a time to talk about work-life balance than right after the holidays, when we've just been put through the ringer and come out the other end and gone, oh my goodness, how can I possibly still have a business after all that just went on in the last 2 weeks? But we do manage, and there's some excellent strategies out there which I have drawn upon from a couple of my Facebook groups, Connect for Success and North Shore Business Mums. So just talking about some of the top tips. Dana Roble says, enroll the kids at a holiday program in a local school. Some of the schools take kids from outside their own, such as I think Abbottsley does that, Hornsby North does that, I think Asquith does that. And there are various programs around. You don't have to be going to that school in order to enroll your kids in it. And the programs are awesome. Don't forget that all of these after-school care or holiday care programs are administered by a higher being. They're having to jump through a lot of hoops to make sure they meet regulation standards. And a lot of them even have the ability to get the rebate back for childcare. So look into it and do your homework. Maybe get them to give you a couple of references if you're just shopping around and your kids don't go to that school, for instance. They go on excursions. They go on incursions. They have people coming in to entertain the kids. They go to the Powerhouse Museum. They go swimming. There's craft. It's actually a really fun-filled, packed day. And I've never, ever sent my kids to after-school care and found ever that they're sitting in front of a TV, for long periods of time. So awesome job that they do around here, and there's great opportunities there. Louisa Sangera from Zippy Finance says, get the kids organised with play dates. Mine both invite friends over, and so they're entertained. It's a great quality time for them to build relationships, of course, one-on-one with friends. And don't forget about the whole concept of reciprocal play dates. So, if you've got a good friend with kids approximately the same age, say, I'll take your kids this day for half day if you can take my kids that day, and then you've got that locked in. But do it early, because quite often people's calendars with grandparents taking kids for days at a time, which I find that tends to happen quite a bit with my kids and their friends. You need to get that organised. So yeah, it is a bit of organising. It's a bit of planning. I actually create a Word document, which is a bit of a calendar just for the holidays specifically, and we put them up on the fridge. And it's nice for the kids to see what they've got coming up and when they can expect to spend that full day with mum and dad, or if they're going on holidays, when they can expect that to happen, when have they got their play dates scheduled, when have they kind of got the day where they know they have to entertain themselves or be independent. Put it up on the fridge. Kids really appreciate knowing what's coming, which is really great. G from Great Gluten Food rallies the troops. I involve the family. My husband works from home some days so I can catch up on work. We have play dates at home with friends and family and occupy the kids with sports and play clinics for a couple of mornings as well. As she has this wonderful support network of friends and family who you can call on the last minute too. So you do hear a lot of people going, hey, give me a call if you need some help. Well, often as small businesses, that's when we do need help. And what you'll find with people who are working full-time is they will deliberately take time off during the holidays. So we have the flexibility and they have the time off. Why not use one another as that support mechanism? And if you are struggling or you've got a massive deadline coming up, just ring around, pop something on Facebook, go, hey guys, I really need some help. I'm not going to meet this client deadline if I don't basically farm off my children for a few hours here and there. And you would be amazed in this wonderful community we live in Hornsby, how many of your friends will put their hands up to help you. So call in the troops, rally the troops, as G from Great Gluten Food says. It's really important as well for planning. As I mentioned before, the idea of putting up a calendar on the fridge really helps everyone to know where they stand. It also helps the hubbies know what's going on each day, because you're out of normal routine. They don't quite know what's going on, and it helps for them to say, oh, okay, I can see this day. You don't have the children, so maybe you won't be so stressed when you come home from work this evening. So it helps everyone, maybe a little bit of mental stability there as well to be planning ahead. Paula Agius from the Social Cocktail says, in my business, a lot of what I do for my clients is content marketing and can be scheduled. So I plan and ramp up before the holidays, which gives me more flexibility. But I like to use vacation care options ideally, just that the local ones are booked up unless you get within an hour of enrolments opening. Good point, Paula. You've got to be organised with that. If the enrolments are open, get on there and get onto the website and quickly book the kids in so that you've got that, you know that at least you've got those couple of days organised where you've got them time to yourself. And be organised with your work as well. So as Paula said, I can schedule stuff in advance. So do that. Schedule in advance. And one thing I would say, and this is from an admin perspective for my expertise, is put in the school holidays now. We're in week 2 of the school term. It's only 8 weeks away. And I don't know about you, but some of us might be actually planning client meetings or client bookings that far in advance. If that's what you're doing, your holidays need to go in there. So you've got that the idea that the kids are going to be around, and you need to plan around that as well. So I often find that if I know that the school holidays are in this block of time, I don't automatically schedule stuff as I normally would, where I block book everything. That's the time I need to free up a little bit. So be conscious of when the holidays are in advance. Martina from MRT Hair Design also loves planning. She says, use a whiteboard so the whole family knows what's going on. Schedule in activities like play by yourself so we can work. This helps other family members know when they're needed. So if you see, you know, you've got the next 3 days planned out on a whiteboard, for example, and there's a chunk of time where the kids actually see it says play by yourself. Well, maybe they can start planning ahead. You know, kids get to a certain age where they love to say, oh, I know what we're going to do. We're going to bake a cake, or we're going to make something to put up on the walls, or this is the time that I've been meaning to catch up on my diary writing. It's almost as though they can plan ahead knowing that that chunk of time is where they're expected to play independently. So great advice, Martina. Adrian from the Speakers Practice advocates for scheduling also. My approach has been to schedule around children's activities. Their dependency on parents at this time is finite, so placing some importance on their activities and doing things with them is important. 2 weeks later, they're back at school and your work can get back on track. So that's a good point. Is scheduling for them is also very important. You're not just scheduling for yourself, so that you can, get out of having to play with them. That's not the idea. You schedule with them in mind. So when you are scheduling stuff, think about balancing it between independent play dates, specific tasks, or booking into after school care or booking into a movie. So you need to think about their development too and what the kids would enjoy doing on holidays, because they are on holidays. And let's face it, school is pretty intense for the 12 years of their life. They do need a break. So think about that too. Nicola Grady-Combs said, schedule time with your kids and schedule time for work. Be productive with both. Now, I really like this advice. Don't try to do both at once. Otherwise, neither gets the right amount of attention. It may be logging on from home at night to catch up or plan during the day, but be organised. It's only for a couple of weeks, so you have to adapt. And that's a really good point, actually. And this is why I struggled, because when I thought that I had the kids come over for 8 hours, I thought, all right, that's it. I've got 8 hours solid of doing stuff. And I was inflexible and I got frustrated with both situations. I was cross because I couldn't get the work done that I thought I was going to get done. And then I was cross with the kids because I was feeling guilty and I didn't get the work done. And then I was feeling guilty because I didn't play with the children or supervise them properly or facilitate their play like I should have been doing. And there's a whole lot of guilt wrapped up in that. So like Nicola says, don't have high expectations for yourself and don't try and do two things at once, because we are learning from, the business world and the corporate world how multitasking is not an ideal place to be anymore. So let's not try and multitask with work and children and work-life balance and all that sort of stuff. Christina Duke from the lovely Decluttering Diva says, I've set a couple of tasks for each of my kids to do while I'm at work so that when they have a day off, we can all play and relax. So that's a really good point. Yes, holidays are time for relaxing, but if they're going to relax and make a complete pigsty of your house, that's not very relaxing for you. So maybe you say, and this is good because I know that Christina has older kids. So when I'm at work for this half day, I am expecting you to have your room squared, sorted out and cleaned so that when I come home in the afternoon, we can all relax. Teaching your kids that you need to be in an environment which is clean and neat and tidy if that's what you want so that you can relax is really important. So explaining to them that, look, I can't enjoy my time with you if I know that your room is a pigsty, or that the kitchen that you use to do some cooking is a mess. That doesn't enable me to come home and relax. So great tip there from Christina. Rachel Louise Wilson from Welcome Basket. Oh, I've said the Welcome Basket one, sorry already. And mindfulness. This is a really good time to think about that. It's a bit of a buzzword at the moment and not something that we do very well as small businesses. I'm just speaking from my own perspective here. I'm really bad at mindfulness. Meditation is something that is so foreign to me. I can't possibly imagine diving down that rabbit hole. I'd love to be able to do it. But it's just not part of who I am at the moment. So Aruna Ellis and Sophie from Your Future Self, they remind us of what's really important. I strongly advocate a mindful life. Very soon, children will turn into strangers and will wonder what happened. Everything can be managed by being mindful. Make the most of it. If work conditions allow, push out tasks that aren't critical to after the holidays. Connecting with our children, even for just a few hours, by giving them 100% of our focus, will help bond a little closer and create some really special memories. So I thought I'd just end today's topic with that mindfulness thought that, like they say, before we know it, the kids will be grown up and not really involved with us very much, more involved with their friends in their own lives. So make the most of it while you can. And if that means scheduling in or planning or simply downing tools, it's a good place to be in. And heaven forbid, that's why we do it. That's why a lot of us went into small business, was to be there for the kids. So don't just be there in the facilitator or the taxi service. Actually be there for spending time with them. So I thought that was a really interesting topic, actually. We will revisit it maybe leading into a holiday so we can all plan and prepare and not forgotten what's on today's show. But if you missed any of today's show, you can, of course, jump on the smallbizmatters.com.au website, and all of our blogs and podcasts are there, including all of the Monthly Chronicle articles. Check out the Monthly Chronicle this month for my column on Small Biz Matters, where I've got a few more of those tips in that column that you can check out. And, of course, make the most of your small business colleagues. They are your network. They are your referrers. They are your referrals. You need to nurture those relationships as you would if you were in a workplace. So just some top tips there from my small business colleagues. Well, that's it for me this week. I look forward to your company next week, every Tuesday, 9 a.m. If there's a topic that you'd like us to cover, you can get in touch too, Facebook group, or get in touch with us via the Small Biz Matters website. Hope you all have a great week. Hope you're productive, possibly a little bit more productive than we all were for the holidays. But I wish you well, and you're listening to Triple H 100.1 FM.